register my appreciation for taking time out of your busy schedules to be with KSA here today. We appreciate that a lot. And I would like to invite our Director General at the Kenya Space Agency, Brigadier Hilary Kipkosgei, to give his opening remarks. Welcome, sir.
The Cabinet Secretary for Defense, Honorable Aden Duale, the Chief of the Defense Forces, General Charles Kahariri, the Principal Secretary for Defense, Mr. Patrick Mariru, the Vice Chief of Defense Forces, General Menda, the Commander Kenya Army, Lieutenant General Tarus, the Commander Kenya Air Force, Major General Fatuma, the Chairperson of the Kenya Space Agency Board of Directors, General Retired Arwasa, the Director General of the National Security Industries Directorate, Major General Bernard Waliahula, representative of the Commander Kenya Navy, Brigadier John Haoya, CEOs of state corporations, public and private organizations present, members of the Board of Directors of the Kenya Space Agency, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. CSA, my task at this juncture is very simple, which is to warmly welcome you and all our distinguished guests to this ceremony for the official launch of our strategic plan. On behalf of the management of the Kenya Space Agency, I want to thank you, sir, most sincerely for honoring our invitation and finding time out of your very busy schedule to preside over this ceremony. Your presence to witness the launch of our strategic plan is testament of the high regard you have for the agency and for our space sector in general. Sir, I also thank you for your personal commitment, support, and guidance to the agency to ensure the agency grows and delivers on its mandate. I also want to thank in a very special way the support the agency has received from the KDF senior leadership, led by the CDF, and the ministry through personal efforts of the Principal Secretary, Mr. Patrick Mariru, and other principal staff at the ministry. Without your collective support, the agency would not be where it is today. We also appreciate the invaluable support and guidance of the Director General, Directorate of National Security Industries, Major General Waliahula, who is personally committed to the growth of the agency. Chief guest, sir, I would be remiss if I did not recognize the support and cooperation we received from our stakeholders, some of whom are represented here today. And I know we have representation from DG Nakosti, from DG Konza Technopolis, from DG KCAA, the Vice Chancellor of University of Embu, and we have also the Director of Remote Sensing and Resource Surveys. I also want to acknowledge, I saw the presence also of the MD of Telkom Kenya, Mr. Mugo Kibati. I also want to acknowledge the presence of the immediate former ambassador. I've not seen her yet, she's not come, but she has confirmed she'll be coming. Ambassador Jacqueline Yonga, who has been a great friend of the agency. Sir, we also have some CEOs of our stakeholder partner organizations from the private sector and non-profit organizations. I see Mr. Davis Cook, the CEO of Research Institute for Innovations and Sustainability. I see Ms. Vivian Mehta, the MD of Locate IT. I see Mr. Karanja Gakio, the CEO of Cyberplex Africa. And I believe Mr. Kimani Wanyoike, the MD of Leo Sky Africa. We also have representatives from some of the diplomatic missions that we work closely with, including the Embassy of Italy and the United Nations Office of Disaster Risk Reduction. We appreciate the presence of you all and many others that I have not mentioned, but who I know are in our midst today. CSR, the product you will see and learn today, is an outcome of work done by my staff, KSA. We did not spend a shilling on consultancy, so this is 100% work done by our staff. And the staff, as you probably know, sir, is made up of 60% young, talented, enthusiastic, and very resourceful professionals working at the agency. The only undoing, sir, which you also know, is that majority of these staff are working on temporary terms, either short-term contract or interns, and their only prayer is that they be employed on permanent and pensionable terms, and I know that the ministry is supporting us in this endeavor. Sir, I'm hopeful that the launch of this strategic plan will help shape national conversation and help and elevate discussions on the utility and benefit of exploration and exploitation of outer space for national socio-economic development. Your presence and the entire leadership of MOD and KDF gives us the assurance that we have your full support, for which we are truly appreciative. Space exploration and exploitation is actually rocket science and is therefore complex and quite intricate. But through this strategic plan, sir, we are seeking to demystify that, to make space exploration and exploitation relatable and not an abstract concept within our reach, and to show that there is enormous benefits that the common mwananchi can derive from effective utilization of space technologies and applications. Sir, I welcome you all to this important event. Thank you very much.
Another round of applause for the DG of You are all welcome. Welcome to space. So if you're feeling a little bit light, it's because you didn't come with a suit. Space suit, that is. So now we're just going to compress space activities in Kenya into a short 4 to 5 minutes documentary that we're just going to watch right now. Technical, these will be able to.
The Kenya Space Agency has a rich history that dates back to the mid-20th century. In 1964, a pivotal collaboration between Kenya and Italy set the stage for the establishment of a satellite launching and tracking base in Malindi. Between 1967 to 1989, over 20 sounding rockets and 9 satellites were launched for the Malindi station, marking significant early achievements in Kenya's space endeavors. In 2009, the formation of the National Space Secretariat marked the dawn of Kenya's independent space program, charged with coordinating all space-related activities within the nation. Fast forward to 2016, a significant milestone was achieved when the Cabinet sanctioned the Kenya Space Policy, Kenya Space Strategy, and Kenya Space Agency Order, paving the way for the formal establishment of the Kenya Space Agency. May 2018 saw the deployment of Kenya's first nanosatellite into orbit from the International Space Station. The satellite, known as OneQueen's PF, served as a technology demonstrator equipped with a lower resolution camera. Later in September, the first board of the Kenya Space Agency was inaugurated by the Cabinet Secretary of Defense. On October 20, 2020, the Kenya Space Agency launched its first strategic plan to establish and position itself to effectively and efficiently deliver on its mandate. As part of its capacity building efforts, the Kenya Space Agency later held its first Kenya Space Expo and Conference, which was held in June 2022. The Kenya Space Agency continues to spearhead initiatives aimed at fostering space-related activities within the country and will hold the second Space Expo and Conference in June 2024.
The Kenya Space Agency has shown beyond reasonable doubt that it is growing over a period of time. And today I'm happy to report that I think Kenya Space Agency has the potential, has the capacity to be a leader in Africa and in the global world.
Of particular importance to the board is how this agency can contribute to the socio-economic development of our country, as well as its positive impact on the lives of the peoples of Kenya.
Kenya Space Agency is a state corporation under the Ministry of Defense, mandated to promote, coordinate, and regulate space-related activities in Kenya. The key functions of the agency are fourfold. 1. Enhancing the utilization of space services and technologies across the public sector players for decision support, planning, and predictive analytics, principally to support socioeconomic development. Secondly, developing national space capability in space systems engineering, space operations, space-derived data processing and analytics, and development of applications and relevant space infrastructure. Thirdly, promotion of the growth of the domestic space economy through support of startups and the innovations ecosystem. And lastly, but not the least, carrying out public awareness on the utility of exploration and exploitation of outer space and its contribution to societal well-being.
I want to say that Kenya Space Agency is a very important agency in this country, and we need to support it. Be given the best resources. We need to attract the best scientists, space scientists, the best engineers, the best technologies to get to this, because the future is in space.
Thank you very much. That is the history of space activities in Kenya. We didn't have enough time. We should have squeezed in the launch of Taifa 1, but it's fine. It will be there in the next one. And now I would again like to invite to the stage our DG, Brigadier Hilary Kipkosgei, to just give us a sneak peek or just a preview of our strategic plan that you are here to launch today. Welcome again, sir.
CSR, I intend to give an overview of the strategic plan that we are launching today. But just to set the context and the background of where we've come from and why we are doing this and going forward, the presentation will dwell on these specific aspects. SOSA, as has already been mentioned, I do not want to belabor this, but the agency is established as a state corporation with a mandate to promote, coordinate, and regulate space-related activities. In terms of promotion and coordination, that is where we are focusing our attention right now on. But the issues of regulation, we believe, should come a little bit later as the sector matures. So we are also making preparations towards instituting the necessary policy, legal, and regulatory framework for that eventually. The key aspirations, has already been mentioned, is enhancing utilization of space services and technologies across the public sector players, ministries, departments, and agencies. And also, it is also in our interest to develop our own capabilities so that we are not forever dependent on services that we outsource. Also, we are also focusing on the development of the domestic space economy by focusing efforts on the startups in the sector so that they become into viable enterprises and business that lead the charge in our space economy. And of course, lastly, awareness creation. Sorry, there is a technical hitch there. SOSA, as we next slide, please. So the strategic plan that we are currently launching today is an evolution of the inaugural strategic plan, which was developed for the period 2020-2025. And to be able to come up with it, of course, we had to do an internal review of that inaugural strategic plan. And we've also done situation analysis, focusing on the trends and developments in the global space industry, so that our strategic plan addresses the contemporary issues and is actually relevant to today's developments in the global space industry. And then we've also had a number of stakeholder inputs. A number of them are here and they participated and worked with us in this journey. We've had a number of stakeholder engagements culminating in a stakeholder validation workshop, which was done end of January 2024. So, sir, this is the aim of this presentation, just to give a brief overview of this strategic plan. And the scope for this is as shown. So I'll touch briefly on where we are, what we have done, and what the strategic issues are. Where do we want to go in terms of our strategic goals? How do we get there? The key result areas and strategic interventions. And what does success look like? What do we hope to be able to achieve by the end of the strategic plan period, that is in 4 years' time. And I will also touch on space technologies and their implications or application to better agenda. So where are we? So some of the key milestones, and I do not want to belabor this, is of course the agency has been operationalized. We had the launch of the initial strategic plan, and we had the first stakeholders workshop, which was the space sector we want, a conversation held in February 2021. We've since had collaboration with our universities through grant of universities research grant, where we are collaborating and even currently still do with 12 public universities on projects on small satellites development, space weather monitoring, and development of applications. We've also had the inaugural Kenya Space Expo and Conference, June 2022, and we are intending to hold the second edition of that in June this year. We've also reviewed the Kenya Space Policy and drafted the Kenya Space Bill 2024. So we've launched Taifa 1 satellite, which is an Earth observation satellite, launched last year in April 2023. We've also acquired and installed an Earth observation ground receiver station, and now we are working on development of decision support products, which is basically tools that our ministries, departments, and agencies are able to use for better decision making, whether it is in the environment space, in land and physical planning, disaster management, and that kind of thing. And to support that, a geo-portal which is for access to these kind of products, we've also done that. We've also done conceptualization of launch capability project in form of a project for the spaceport. And we continue to do space education and awareness outreach to schools. The intention here is really to just give you an overview of the kind of activities that the agency has been involved with over the last period. Let's proceed. So these are also others that I will also not belabor the point, but just to show that even in support to startups and space-related projects, we work with institutions and startups in giving them problem sets around data that we derive from satellites and how we can develop decision support products from those data, whether to support agriculture or natural resources management, that kind of thing. We've also worked with Sayare Labs, principally in the development of the satellite. And there's an active work that we are doing with JK UAT University on the development of rocketry. And just a few days ago, we had a successful field test of that at the Soy School range. We also have active collaboration with these other entities and governments specifically corporations or agencies that are like the Space Agency in India, Ukraine, Egypt, South Africa, and Rwanda, and also some effort towards collaboration with UK and China and USA. So, sir, these are just some of the products that we have been developing in terms of forest mapping, tree cover, issues to do with mapping, showing the trend of urbanization. And this is work that we've done with stakeholders. The last one there is just a flood hazard map of the lower Tana River basin, just showing the areas that are likely to be inundated. So these are the kind of products or projects that we've been working on with partnership of stakeholders. And then in satellite development, I have mentioned these are just some of the pictorials on that. Next. Research grant. So these are the projects that we've had on nano satellite developments. That is basically small satellites. An aspect on development of applications for harnessing space-derived data. And the Earth Observation Space Challenge, which is targeted at the startups ecosystem. And then, of course, this is the ground infrastructure that we have now, which is for use in acquiring data from Earth observation satellites. It's a facility that we recently completed installation of in the Kasarani area. And with this, we are able to actually acquire data from Taifa 1 and any other satellites that we get into through partnership with other partners. So, sir, what informed this strategic plan? There are the strategic issues. So we did an analysis, a situational analysis, and a stakeholder analysis. And the idea here was to look at what we need to focus on in terms of our strategic plan to improve on the sector itself and generally our capability as a country. So we saw that there is inadequate coordination and governance of the space sector, especially through aspects of how we handle data, how we share it, how we store it, how we utilize it. So that's an area that we are going to focus on in our strategic plan. Issues to do with technical capacity, infrastructure facilities, insufficient resourcing, low utilization and participation in the space ecosystem, inadequate corporate positioning, and leveraging space capabilities for national security. We felt that we have not given adequate attention, particularly to our main stakeholder, the Kenya Defence Forces. So there is also focus in that area, how we can leverage our space capabilities. So then, arising out of those strategic issues, we've come up with the strategic goals. And the vision that we have set for ourselves is effective utilization of space capabilities for national development with a mission to promote development of national space capabilities and nurture the growth of the space sector in order to maximize utilization of the space economy for national development. And those are the core values. And in terms of strategic goals, there are many that we came up with, but we broadly grouped them into these 5 strategic areas. So enhancing coordination and governance, enhancing national space capability, increasing utilization, enhancing resource mobilization, and I'm guided, sir, that we need to stand on our own, so issues of resource mobilization have been given serious weight, and also enhancing corporate positioning and investment in the space sector. And out of that, sir, we've come up with broadly 6 key result areas, which are as listed, basically along those strategic goals, and I do not want to belabor that. And out of these key result areas, next slide, we've come up now with specific interventions, again, This is information that is already in the booklet. I do not want to belabor the issues, but just to give a feel of the kind of strategic interventions that we are thinking of in each of those key result areas. So here important to mention is issues to do with stakeholder engagement. Of course, issues of policy, legal and regulatory framework, and as you know, sir, we have completed the policy. Hot on the heels of that is the regulation itself, and this will be we'll be finalizing that in the next few weeks. And of course, issues to do with capacity building and compliance. These are issues that will come as we progress with the institution of the regulatory framework. So enhancing national space capability, again, a number of strategic interventions. Again, I will not belabor this. And enhancing utilization. So here we're looking at using joint pilot projects to demonstrate utility of space-derived data, so working closely with all the stakeholders, ministries, departments, and agencies, including even counties, coming up with those joint pilot projects. As a matter of fact, there's some work that we are doing with Murang'a County, there's some work we are doing with Vihiga County and Kakamega County in as far as deploying these decision support tools and doing the joint projects. Data governance framework, this is an area that we found was weak, and we are working also on that. And generally awareness creation. So those are the strategic interventions. I do not want to bore this audience with those details, but it's just, the idea is to just paint a picture of the thoughts that we put in terms of the key result areas and the strategic interventions. So let's go to the next slide. So, of course, enhancing corporate positioning, and here it is very important, the issue of personnel, ensuring that we have the necessary assets and infrastructure, training and human capacity building. These are areas that we still need the support of the ministry. I know, sir, you have indicated that we should stand on our own, but we still count on the support of the ministry to support us to put in place the requisite infrastructure. And in 2 or 3 years, we should be able to run. So what do we expect to see? What does success look like? And what are some of the key capabilities that we are seeking? So we hope to be able to put in place a data application center. And the idea here is to have an infrastructure, hardware and software for processing and analytics of the data that we receive from satellites. Because right now, yes, we can actually acquire data from satellites, but we don't have the infrastructure to do the actual processing. And that is an area that we want to focus on and be able to have in place by the end of this period. A Center for Microsatellite Development, also to support the issues of space systems engineering. Mission Control Center to support our satellites. Once we have them up in space, we need to have a Mission Control Center that will be able to task those satellites and direct it to take imagery or imagery of a particular area. Of course, ground support infrastructure. A key one is the spaceport, sir. We have mentioned this. This is a game changer. We hope that we'll be able to take advantage of our geographical location to put in place or to establish this spaceport, which will be a key revenue generating activity. And then to address the issue of our startups and the issue of our space economy, establishment of an innovation hub, and we've already had discussions with some of our partners, including RIS. So for specific use and application by defense and security sector, establishment of an imagery and geointelligence center, sovereign Earth observation, small satellite constellation. It makes sense that as a country we must have our own small constellation of satellites that we can task at will to be able to monitor activities, whether across the border, at sea, and the like. And also an observatory which will be out there in space. And of course, on the policy, legal and regulatory framework, issues to do with the policy itself, the act, the space bill itself, and having sector regulations. So these are things that we expect to see by the end of this period. And so how do we intend to support that better? Because we are not just doing space for the sake of it. We have an end in mind, and basically to support the priorities of the administration. So in agriculture and food security, using satellite imagery for crop health, crop condition monitoring, doing things like crop mapping, monitoring the growth of crops and crop yield estimation. So from imagery, doing analytics around that, you're able to give a prediction of how much yield you're going to expect at the end of that season. Issues to do with monitoring soil moisture so that you can optimize irrigation, you can optimize stock rating of rangelands, and doing prediction about drought. And also issues to do with fertilizer application optimization. So there are definite applications and uses that we can apply to agriculture and food security. What about the MSMEs? So we see ourselves as creating opportunities for startups in the space ecosystem through opportunities for innovations and development of those decision support tools. So we have vast volumes of data that we get from satellites, but we need the tools, we need the applications to make meaning out of that, and those are opportunities for our MSMEs and by extension creating jobs for that sector. And then creation of market for products, services, and applications in all those various areas of satellite communications, navigation, position, Earth observation, and the like. And then also, because there's vast volumes of data, opportunities around data management itself, processing and analytics. Housing and settlements, of course, this is fairly straightforward, is what we've been doing. Issues to do with land and physical planning, infrastructure and utilities mapping, and even now response in terms of disasters like we are facing right now with the flooding. In terms of healthcare, we are looking at through an extension of the digital broadband connectivity, because now satellite is able to give you the last mile connectivity. You're able to facilitate services like telemedicine. You are able to effectively do monitoring of environmental factors like disease vectors and water quality. You are able to do an assessment of the impact of health emergencies and natural disasters. You will agree with me, sir, that these are definite applications that are useful for supporting the better agenda. And then digital superhighway and the creative economy. Through that extension of the footprint and the broadband connectivity, of course, we are able now to bring on board populations that were marginalized, who would not be able to access data connectivity, and bring them to be able to participate in the digital economy and digital jobs. So, and even opportunities now, because of vast volumes of data, the opportunities of using all these new technologies to actually make sense out of that data, and so forth. And last but not least, on climate action, we can use satellite imagery for monitoring our forest cover. We can, by extension, make an estimation of the extent of our carbon sinks and carbon sequestration. We'll definitely know whether we are making track or progress in this campaign, the 15 billion tree growing program. We'll be able to keep track of how many trees we are and how far we are in as far as that campaign is concerned, and also monitoring concentration of gases in the atmosphere. So, sir, that was just a quick rundown. I know space is still difficult and abstract, and I hope I was just able to give a snip overview of how we can utilize this complex domain to have meaningful services and utilities for our societal well-being. So these strategic plans are, in conclusion, underscores the significant contributions of space technologies and applications to socio-economic development, and it obviously requires national awareness of the utility and benefits, so we'll continue with those efforts, and that's why that is also a key result area. And it also requires an appreciation of the need to invest. I think this is important, to invest significant resources in developing the human and technical capacities, and then of course this will in turn yield significant returns on investment. So that is what I thought I should share with this as a way of awareness creation. I hope I was able to speak English. I know it is a difficult subject, but if you're able to pick something in terms of the utility, I think this would have been a useful discussion. Thank you, sir.
Of course, you know, another round of applause for that overview of the Kenya Space Agency strategic plan. Now that we're done with the presentations, we're going to have remarks from 3 of our dignitaries and then a keynote from our chief guest. First, we're going to start with the chairperson of the KSA Board Strategy and Technical Committee, Mr. Stephen Stuma. Sir, kindly take your time as we move this podium for you to the center so that you can be, you know, central located as well. And to my check, welcome, sir.
Thank you so much. Our guest of honor, sir, the Cabinet Secretary for Defense on Aden Duale, the Chief of Defense Forces, General Charles Kahiriri, the Principal Secretary for Defense, Mr. Patrick Mariu, the Vice Chief of Defense for Force Defense, Lieutenant General John Omenda, the Commander of the Kenya Air Force, Major General Ahmed Fatuma, the Chairperson of Kenya Space Agency Board of Directors, Major General Retired James Araswa, the representative of the Commander of the Navy, Brigadier John Haoya, the Director General of the National Security Industries Directorate, Major General Bernard Odiaula, the Acting Director General of the Kenya Space Agency, Brigadier Hilary Kipuske, CEOs of State Departments and Corporations present, members of the Board of Directors of the Kenya Space Agency, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. I'm not going to repeat most of the things that the DG has mentioned. I'll only want to point out that we want to welcome you to this function, and this is our second strategic plan that has been. This is our second strategic plan since the establishment of the Kenya Space Agency. in 2017. The initial strategic plan essentially enabled the foundational structures to be put in place for the agency to be operational and define the roadmap for the domestic space sector. Today, we are gathered here not only to celebrate the launch of the strategic plan, but also to appreciate the milestones we have achieved towards becoming a spacefaring nation. The development of this strategic plan has been consultative and collaborative process that started in July 2023 with the review of the first KSA strategic plan. Since then, the Kenya Space Agency Board and the management have conducted brainstorming and articulation workshops with strategic stakeholders, consultations with stakeholders drawn from government, ministries, departments, and agencies, research institutions, academia, international, and also regional organizations. Of course, I can't forget the invaluable input from our private sector professional bodies. Now, this strategic plan is anchored on a rich history of the space activities in Kenya and draws from the strategic issues highlighted in the Kenya Space Policy, aspirations of the Vision 2030, and the bottom-up economic transformation agenda. It is further guided by government guidelines on the development of strategic issues by the State Department for Economic Planning that was issued in June 2023. The unity of purpose demonstrated across government and especially around the space sector will guarantee success in our pursuit of technological advancement and developing of national space capability. Chief Guest, the strategic plan firmly sets the country on the trajectory to have a viable domestic space industry by the year 2030. To achieve this, the following strategic issues affecting the wider space sector, as well as implementation of the agency's mandate, were identified. 1. Inadequate coordination and governance of the space sector. 2. Limited technical capability, technical capacity, infrastructure, and research development in the space sector. Insufficient resourcing and investment in the space sector. Low utilization and participation in the space ecosystem. And lastly, inadequate corporate positioning and sustainability. Chief Guest, the strategic plan has been developed through a consultative process, and it actually addresses all the issues that are mentioned up there. Now, it has also been subjected to stakeholder validation in the spirit of leaving no one behind and ensuring inclusivity in implementation of outlined strategies. Chief Guest, Kenya Vision 2030 also exposes science, technology, and innovation to raise productivity and efficient levels across the economic, social, and political pillars. Further, space technology supports realization of the 17 Sustainable Development Goals, as well as the African Union Agenda 2063. For the Africa we want. Finally, I want to take this opportunity to sincerely thank the Ministry of Defense, the Policy Section in the Ministry of Defense, the Strategy and Planning Department, and the State Department for Economic Planning, our esteemed stakeholders within the country, and those from the diaspora for the support they have given us towards developing this strategic plan. I also don't want to forget the support we've gotten from the board of NACOSTI and the committee that was working with me and the staff of the Kenya Space Agency. And as the DG mentioned, they work under very difficult circumstances. They're on temporary terms, but they gave all their best. I want to thank all of them, of course, including the top management of the Space Agency, and I believe your efforts will ensure that a solid foundation is established for prosperity and the prosperity of our nation. It's now my honor to invite the chairperson of the Kenya Space Agency Board of Directors, Major General retired James Arwasa, to make his opening remarks. Thank you so much.
Honorable Cabinet Secretary, sir, allow me to quote as a stamp. I think we are used to quoting from Mungu areas because they write too many things. And we say, "Nani bye bye, olumoed, simply means when you're happy, it's like the sunshine is in the stomach, you can see it on the face. I'm very happy this morning, sir, able to come support us, indicate personally that this is a very important area for you to support. Cabinet Secretary Defense, Honorable Adan Duale, the senior team, Ministry of Defense that are here to support us this morning, this TDF, Vice, Service Commanders, Principal Secretary, Director, Industries Directorate. It is really a pleasure for us and an honor for you to be here to give us this support. What I can only say now is that I underscore what DG has said in this presentation. It's what the chairperson of the Strategy and Technical Committee, who are working under the guidance of the board, to produce this document. This is our guiding light for the next few years as we develop our space sector. Honorable CSR, if you can give me just 1 minute to introduce my team. Please, board members who are here, distinguished board members, if you can stand. These are the board members who are here this morning. Some have not been able to make it. You can say your name.
Good morning, sir. I'm Kawini Esther. I represent the PS, ICT, and the digital economy. Good morning, sir. My name is Junichi Soni. I represent the Attorney General.
Good morning, sir. My name is Michelle Kukuru. I'm an educated program.
Sir, I'm Winnie Mondongo, representing the PS National.
That's the sir. My name is Steve. I represent the PS Higher Education Research.
Thank you. Please be seated. In conclusion, sir, it is my pleasure now to invite the Chief of the Defense Forces, General Charles Hariri, to make his remarks, and then invite you, sir, to officially launch this strategic plan. Sir, CDM.
Cabinet Secretary, Ministry of Defense, the Honorable Aden Duale, Principal Secretary, Ministry of Defense, Vice CDF and Service Commanders present, Director, National Security Industries, Director General, the Chairperson, Kenya Space Agency, Board of Directors, CEO, CEOs of state corporations, all stakeholders and friends of Kenya Space Agencies, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. Good morning. I'm glad to join you this morning to witness this momentous occasion of the launch of the Kenya Space Agency strategic plan that has been presented to us. It is a proud moment for all of us in the ministry. The KDF appreciates and acknowledges the utility and benefits of utilizing space technologies not only for national socio-economic development and scientific and technological development, but also enabling military operations. Space is now considered the fifth domain of warfare. Globally, several nations are establishing space forces to protect their national interest. As KDF, we are keen to leverage on the capabilities that spin off from the effective space exploration and exploitation. Further, as a key stakeholder, we associate ourselves with the development of the agency and strategic plan that is being launched here today. CSR, I'm happy to note that one of the primary objectives of the plan is to enhance national security and sovereignty of our republic through use of space technology and applications. It recognizes a vital role of space in supporting national security organs and also environmental monitoring, border surveillance, maritime domain awareness, disaster management, and climate change monitoring, as well as mitigation. The plan also acknowledges the emerging threats and challenges in the space domain, such as space debris, cyber security issues, and weaponization of space technologies, which are of concern to all of us, and the need for the nation to participate in the global effort to mitigate threats. As defense and security sectors, we acknowledge that a robust military space program and military use of space capabilities is intrinsically tied to the growth and development of domestic, civil and commercial space sector. That is why, as KDF and the larger security sector, we applaud fundamental steps that Kenya Space Agency is taking to enhance utilization of space technologies and applications across the public sector, as well as focusing on development of national space capabilities and nurturing the space industry. As the Kenya Space Agency embarks on the journey outlined in its strategic plan, I extend my deepest gratitude to the government and specifically to our Cabinet Secretary, Duale, for his steadfast support to the agency and insightful vision advancing our space sector. I also take this opportunity to recognize and applaud the dedication and hard work of Board of Directors and the management team led by Brigadier Eric Kosgei and the staff of the Kenya Space Agency for the efforts in creating the necessary applications, the necessary awareness, and to enhance utilization of space science, technologies, and applications for decision support and planning in our country. Furthermore, I extend my heartfelt appreciation to fellow stakeholders of the KSA and KSA partners for their invaluable contributions and unwavering cooperation. It is through our collective efforts and collaborations that we can achieve remarkable milestones in our journey towards unlocking potential in the space frontier. With those few remarks, it is now my pleasure to invite our chief guest, Honorable Cabinet Secretary for Defense, Aden Duale, to deliver his keynote address and launch the strategic.
The Chief of the Defense Forces, the Principal Secretary MOD, the Vice Chief of Defense Forces, our service commanders, general officers, Kenya Space Agency Chairperson, the Acting Director General of Kenya Space Agency, the Board of Kenya Space Agency, CEOs of various organizations, both public and private, senior officers, staff of Kenya Space Agency, officers, service members, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. It's with great pleasure to join you on this very important occasion that on behalf of the Ministry of Defense and KDF, I welcome you to our official launch of Kenya Space Agency Strategic Plan for the period 2023-2027. This is a very key milestone for the agency, which, as you all know, is a state corporation domiciled in our ministry. This strategic plan is a blueprint that will guide the implementation of our national space program over the next 4 years. And on the onset, I want to thank the board and the management and staff of the agency for this tremendous work put in developing this document. I also thank all the stakeholders represented here today for supporting us and working with us in the journey of the development of this important document. I'm glad to know that this strategic plan that we are launching today is aligned to our national development agenda as a government and our priorities as it is in Vision 2030 and medium-term Plan 4, and seeks to contribute to our administrative priorities in the bottom-up economic transformation agenda, which also addresses other international and regional goals as stipulated under the UN 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development and, of course, the African Union Agenda of 2063. The global space sector has also in the recent years witnessed a very radical shift from being primarily a government-driven enterprise to a private sector-led, commercially oriented industry, contributing significantly to the global economy and socio-economic development of nations. International trends and rapid development in the global space industry have informed the need for all of us to relook at and review our national space policies as well as Kenya's Space Agency strategic plan to make them relevant and useful in shaping and directing the implementation of our national space program. As a government, we will provide an enabling environment for the development of a thriving domestic space industry that will contribute to our national socio-economic development, our scientific and technological development, as well as supporting our defense and national security space. In this regard, the Kenya Space Agency and the Ministry of Defense have taken steps to institute an enabling policy, legal and regulatory framework through a very comprehensive, stakeholder-driven review of the existing Kenya Space Policy framework developed in 2015, and that will lead to the Kenya Space Bill of 2024, which is currently at the tail end of a stakeholder engagement and consultation process. I'm happy to report that very soon we'll be tabling the Kenya Space Policy before Cabinet, and soon after the draft Kenya Space Bill, which will consolidate efforts to address these challenges through a very deliberate resource mobilization initiatives and enhances utilization of space application as one of our key strategic and intervention method. In this regard, I'm pleased to note that this strategic plan acknowledges the importance of partnership as a key plank in contributing to the development of our national space capability and also an important means of resource mobilization. Strategic partnership will serve to infuse diverse capability, build capacity, foster innovation, and above all provide access to new markets and technologies that the agencies can have as their own sustainability. I encourage KSA to strengthen the linkages and collaborations with all its partners and stakeholders. On behalf of the Ministry of Defense, we commit to support the agency in the implementation of the strategic plan. We are counting on the support of all stakeholders and partners as well, and I'm very optimistic that together we will build a vibrant and viable space sector for Kenya. Let me just say two things before I conclude. This entity called Kenya Space Agency has a very long history, particularly for me, from 2009. And I have not seen it here in this strategic plan. Let me go on record. I have not seen the synergy, the collaboration between Kenya Space Agency and the Italian Space Agency. Maybe I'll take time to read that book tonight. But there's no way you can talk about the development of the Kenya Space Agency without mentioning the Italian Space Agency, who are our #1 key partners. From our site in Malindi, this is the agency that took me to Parliament to answer questions and appear before committee more than any other issue in my 2 years as a Minister for Defense. This is the agency that made me have issues with foreign governments. Myself and the President and the entire leadership of Kenya Defense Forces, the past CDFs, the past principal secretaries, parliamentary committees on defense and foreign relations, parliamentary committees on implementation, and our relationship with the Italian Space Agency and the site in Malindi, which we co-host. The infrastructure there, the investment there, from where I sit, is also an investment that belongs to Kenya Space Agency. That you can do your satellites from that agency. As much as you build one in, is it in Kasarani? Yeah. That title of that land belongs to the Ministry of Defense. It's under my custody. The investment is it's a long history investment. So the people who developed this space agency, I am not seeing the synergy, the coherence, the interlocutory, the relationship between us and our very big, valuable, respectable partner. I went to Rome. I met my colleague, the Minister for Defense, the Minister in charge of Space Agency. And we put into paper and signed an MOU, a very robust MOU, based on what Parliament has passed on behalf of the people of Kenya. The Chairman and Brigadier Kipsgei, the people of Kenya, in developing their space agency, must be told. And that's why, I was telling you earlier, that going forward, the space agency In fact, must give money back to Treasury. We are not going to support it. We must go look for all the contracts. Because that site is used by the big space agencies in the world, whether it's NASA, the Chinese, the European Space Agency. All those big guys use our facility. And we have agreed in that agreement that all the contracts must be shared, resource must be shared. So please, this 4 year, what Parliament has passed, the agreement the PS has signed and myself and the whole leadership of KDF in Rome and in Nairobi, we were signing it on behalf of the people of Kenya. And I have told the chairman, I have told the DG a number of times, we went with you to many meetings. Because I have the history of this when I was not even the leader of majority. And you know, many people thought this, God is great. Why you saw the governor of Vihiga here? Why not the other governors? He was my colleague in Parliament many years ago, and he's an expert on space agency. In fact, he can be a consultant. But I think he's having a second term. When he finishes, you must listen to that great man, Ochichi, Dr. Ochichi, was the head of the Africa Center for something. So please, the space agency, our location as a country, the human capital we have as a country, we want this space agency to grow and be the space agency of our region, of our continent, and have its place at the global table. And that will happen if all of us work at the space agency, and those, including myself, we work for the people of Kenya, but we don't work for ourselves. So that when we leave these offices, all of us, we will remember that those are men and women that during their time in leadership, the Kenya Space Agency grew to the level of the European Space Agency, the level of the Chinese Space Agency, level of NASA. This is the advice I'm giving. We will have talked to Treasury. I'm sure the PS have done the letter. We will employ these good people. They will be permanent. I had answered questions with the Minister of National Treasury in Parliament. And he was asked, why are you not giving resources? And the minister committed. And he's on Hansard, so there's no way. Once you speak to the Hansard, I'm sure in this budget this year they will put money. So we will do our part. But all that we agreed in that MOU with our good partners, the Italian Space Agency, DG and Chairman, we need to have that report at the Defense Headquarters. But I briefed Cabinet, I briefed the President, who I want to thank him because he stood very firm. Successive governments played games on that MOU. Because I was a member of Parliament. County governments played games because they were called, they were taken somewhere. They looked at their personal interests. But I want to thank the team that is sitting here and some who have left. When I came to the Minister of Defense, I said it cannot be business as usual. And I'm very happy our colleagues in Rome agreed. They realized this is a serious deal. And we signed. So now the implementation part of it, and please, this strategic plan report, I want it tomorrow, I'll sign to Parliament. It must go to the relevant committees, because every strategic plan of our ministry, even our security strategic plan, goes to the Committee of Defense, goes to the floor of the House. So even this one, right, I sign it. But we sign it, send it to Cabinet, you get a copy. But this is a very, very good day for us. At least we have 4 years on how we will turn over. Brigadier, you and your team, we are so proud of you at Defense Headquarters. But please make sure that our partnership is genuine. Our MOU is implementable. I want to congratulate the agency for drafting this important document and the launch we are witnessing today, and wish you the very best in its implementation. Ladies and gentlemen, join me on that note that the Kenya Space Agency Strategic Plan 2023-2027 is hereby officially launched. Thank you very much.
A big round of applause for that. The next time we wait for KSA, check. That mic check. The next time you receive an invite from KSA, just don't miss. We might be taking a trip to the edge of space and back. This place. Alright. Beside me, I have, I don't know what it is, draped in white and blue. Could be a bright, I don't know. You're going to find out in a few. And with that, I would like to invite our DG to the podium. Chair of the Strategy and Technical Committee, Mr. Stuma Haile, join me up front here. DG Dion Esai, sir, welcome to the podium. The Chair of the KSA Board, of course, Major General Richard Arwasa. Sir, please to this side. We need you to flank the bride from the left. Yes, and then we're going to have our PS, Defense. Welcome, sir. And then we'll have our CS, our PS accompanied by the CDF. Welcome, sir. What is that team of mine? Sai. Alright, is there something in the countdown? We going? Welcome, ma'am. General Fatima. General. We're so sorry about that. We didn't even realize, welcome, sir. Alright, can I have my countdown now? Clear? We are at 13, clear. We are at 9. We are at 7, 5, 4, 3, 2, your party to this line, you're going to have evidence this
We are all partakers of this plan. There is evidence, so you better help us to implement this strategic plan.